You have reached Imperial Reviews, and today's review is Flight Risk. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Let's get into it. So this movie, you've seen the trailers, and pretty much what the trailers showed. I put a trailer out for this on my channel a few months ago, and pretty much what the trailer showed was pretty much the movie. So it wasn't a lot to the movie. Let's go over the cast. So you have Michelle Dockery plays as Madeline. Mark Wahlberg plays as Daryl. Leah Remini plays as Van Sant. Topher Grace plays as Winston. Manu Abhat plays as Hassan. Maz Ali plays as Hassan's voice. I don't know why they just didn't have the same person. Allison Patterson plays as Janine. And Paul Ben Victor plays as Coleridge. And then you have that was pretty much the bulk of the cast. So the movie starts off where you have the character of Winston. He's off somewhere in some cabin hiding out. He's kind of freaked out. And then U.S. Marshal Madeline comes in with her team. They grab him up. They're expediting him back to New York so he could testify against a mob boss. So just like you've seen it, if you've seen the trailer, it's pretty much that. So they get up in a plane. Then you have Mark Wahlberg's character plays as Daryl. Now we haven't seen. Well, I haven't seen Mark Wahlberg play as a villain in a movie in a long time. In a long time since he first came out early in his younger years. He played in that movie like Fear or something in his early years in the 90s. He played as a villain there or whatever. So other than that, we haven't really much seen him play as a villain as much. But in this one, he plays a villain. So I'm pretty much, I could tell he had fun playing this role. He got to use his Boston accent throughout the movie, and he did a pretty decent job. But the movie wasn't really based upon him; it was really based upon the character Madeline, and she's the U.S. Marshal. They got up in the sky, and she pretty much chained Winston down because he's a flight risk. And then you had Mark Wahlberg's character he dysfunctioned the GPS on the airplane, and pretty much he messed up the CV where they get to call people on the radio. So Madeline had a history. The last fugitive or whoever had in her custody, it went bad and they died. So they took her out the field and she was working a desk, but then her boss gave her a shot again to get back in the field and pretty much told her, don't mess this up. So she's talking to Daryl while he's flying the plane, and she's asking questions, he's asking questions. And she first picked up that he had a scratch on his neck. Then she picked up that when he turned, he had like a hole where it was like blood seeping through his shirt. Meanwhile, Winston was in the back, and he noticed that the pilot of the plane was supposed to be a guy named Daryl. So he's starting to panic, hyperventilating. He's trying to get Madeline's attention, but they got their earphones on so they can't hear him. When he finally got her attention, she just basically told him, chill out. So eventually, Daryl and Madeline was talking, and he was throwing her ball, and she pretty much was picking up like, nah, I'm not picking up what you putting down. So he pretty much said, that's not gonna work. So he just gave up, and then they get to fight. And then now this all takes place within the first 20 minutes of the film. They get to fight, and he knocked her out for a bit. tied her up, and when he tied her up, Daryl starts, talking crap to Winston, and Winston pretty much tell him, look, man, I'll give you $1 million, just let me go. Tell the mob boss pretty much you lost me or you killed me. You handled your business. They never know. So, um, what eventually happened is Madeline woke up and she had a stun gun in her leg. And so when Daryl came over to choke her, she pretty much zapped him with the stun gun. He fell. Then from there, she was able to tie him up, and then they had to reverse uh, spots. They tied him up. She let Winston go. She had to trust Winston, so they tied Daryl up. And so you didn't see much to him. Now you had to get the dialogue back and forth between Winston and Madeline, and she had to call her boss because she had a satellite phone. The boss pretty much told her, she told her they've been compromised. The boss told her she's going to get her help and first said, I'm going to get you a pilot. So then here comes Hassan. That's the pilot voice that pretty much eased her mind, pretty much said, hey, we're going to go out to dinner. We're going to go out for drinks. And basically, I'm going to guide you to fly this plane. So he gave her directions to get the plane on track and pretty much told her, like, hey, once you see the coastal, then hit me back. So, it has its moments up in, her flying the plane, not know how to fly the plane. Its moments the plane was about to crash and she had to jump in mode to try to fly the plane and pull it out. So, meanwhile, Winston and Madeline's bonding, and Daryl wakes up. He rushes them. And this time, he's saying different stuff. Well, before he rushed them, he was saying different stuff. Planting stuff in their mind. Got Madeline to reveal what happened to the last prisoner or person she was in charge of and bringing a place or whatever. And they kept looking for a knife, but because Madeline and Winston was bonding, they stopped looking for the knife. The knife went back to Daryl. Eventually, Daryl got underneath Madeline's skin. She came back there and beat him up, and he took her glasses, and she didn't notice because she was so hyped. Took her glasses. That's what he used to get out of the cuffs. At that moment, he grabbed a knife, stabbed Winston twice, choked out Madeline, and after he choked her out, almost choked her out, Winston pulled a knife out of himself and was able to cut Daryl. After he cut Daryl, she went. No, Daryl took her gun, and started shooting at her. After shooting at her, she took the gun that they use to what do they call that gun that they use if you SOS you in trouble, and you shoot it in the sky, whatever that, I can't think of that right now, I'm drawing a blank. Nevertheless, she shot that gun in him, and the fire was flaming in him, so she went and knocked him, hit him head with the fire extinguisher, and put the fire out off of Daryl. So meanwhile, while this is going on, her boss, she thinking her boss is the leak. So she calls the director person that's over her and patched him in where he was at, and told him she thinks that her boss is the leak. Told her where she was at. She's waiting with a crew. He said, don't worry, I got this. So she started thinking, because Winston and her was bonding. Winston was telling her he was funneling money for the mob boss, and he funneled money so that he could, do his own thing. But he kept funneling $25,000 a month somewhere else. When she thought about where it was going, because the boss He said he was off in his lake house somewhere, wherever he was at. She thought, she put two and two together, said he was the leak. So she called her boss, told her pretty much, hey, I dined you out. I'm sorry I didn't trust you. You got to get out of there because I called um, the director and I told him there's a leak. And he's pretty much, he's going to, he'll come after you. So she was pretty much like, thanks, B, you set me up, but be safe. So now the rest of the movie was her getting back to a safe landing, and Hassan had to um, guide her meaning Malin, guide the plane back to safety to land. And so, at one last heroic effort, Daryl came trying to stop the flight again and said, "I'm not going to prison." And she got some shots off in this time, finishing them off. They was able to land the plane. Winston was bleeding out. So by that time, she did speak to the uh, Coleridge, and which is her boss's boss. Spoke to him, let him know that she knew he was the mole. He pretty much told her to calm down. Nobody will believe you. So when they landed and they took Winston off in the ambulance, he was sitting there for a minute. She noticed this weird looking guy, looking suspect. He went into the ambulance. She hurried up and ran to the ambulance, seen the guy suffocating Winston with a plastic bag. She killed him. Um, and you could hear Coleridge on the phone. She pretty much picked up the phone. He's like, "Was it done?" And she picked up the phone and said, "No, it wasn't, but you are." And that's how pretty much it ended. You also, her boss, Janine, is Janine her boss? Yeah. No, Van Sant is her boss. She pretty much, they said she died in a car accident. So this overall was a decent film. It left some cliffhangers there that if it does well in the box office, this could be a bigger, like the origin story for a bigger movie. Because this was it wasn't too much to it. It was just up in whatever happened up in the sky. And they said pretty much that Daryl didn't make it, but that could be, she doesn't know who was waiting for her down there. This could have been all the mob boss people. So Daryl could have lived through that. You don't know. Coleridge still is out there. He wasn't arrested or nothing. They said her Van Sant was died in a car accident, but she really could have been part of everything. So you don't really know that she died. So it's some if it does well in the box office, I can see where this could be the origin story for it to be a part two, and then it dive deeper into the mob boss who is really on the payroll, who's going to believe Madeline. Could she get enough people on her side? So they got another storyline to go off of there to see what happens with Coleridge and everything. And does Winston make it to court to testify? Because that's what they was bringing him to court for. So it could be a whole nother journey. Him making it to the hospital, him getting in the hot, they gonna make a whole nother storyline there with there. So it's all gonna bank on how well it does in the box office. So out of my 4 star rating system, I give this movie a 2 out of 4 stars. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. If you liked it, it could lose you a bit because it could be a drag because it doesn't that much go on. So it's kind of it's moments where it could go all right, too long. But within the first 20 minutes, they get to it, and then it kind of drags a little bit, and then picks up. So it's okay. They had to drag it out, and it basically was giving you dialogue, so you get the backstory of a lot of things, and then they throw some action up there. But it ain't too much you could go on with just three main characters on a flight, one scene, the whole movie. So ain't too much really to go on. So you'll be the judge. Till next time.